kneeboard.
Got mine. Need.
Oh, you got.
She has one.
I need a pencil.
You got his.
A what?
Pencil or pen.
Okay.
It's got to come out of this kneeboard.
It's hard to tell whether it's the environmental lights or whether it's actually the payload station.
Excellent.
Oh,
just
somebody
one?
just came in and
This
moved
one's
it,
fine.
which was great.
There's another one if you need it. Just put that in a shoulder pocket.
Just for now, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. You got it. And your comma's good?
Yes, thanks.
All right, very good.
You got your flight data file?
Got you loud and clear,
Nice.
Rex.
No, I haven't seen that at all. It should be outside still. Yes, we have both sitting on the table.
All right, Rex, you're all ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Juan, we are ready. Hey, you guys got to get on that. We're all ready.
Okay.
That's the sequence that can go the other way around. Okay. Thank you. John's so funny.
They can take one back to audit, right? What time do you need
About a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes.
That's it. Push it. All right, surface feedback be selected.
Take it back.
We see the 2234 on board. We'd also like you to pick up the payloads. You can restring at the Ops 3 transition per the cue card.
Matt, done.
All right. Thank you.
No, good so far, man.
All right, here's the
kind of nice.
Ops 301 Pro.
Is string one still down?
String one is going to be back now, Mike. Okay.
But when we had, I had it before 126, and I think I had good luck with him. I don't remember having issues with him. Because, or if they were very minor.
They haven't even travel height. I have a warning. Moving to hardware obstacles may cause pinching and injury. Personnel may suffer injury and brain. Have a caution. OTS jack screw mechanisms at EO2 and EO3.
It's a beautiful day for it, too. Yes, you guys have certain weather wings.
Coming down here. They have about
We're going to stop 3 hours outside of the
Shuttle.
You can borrow mine.
Agree or two on that. It's the ideal. But other than that, this
Catching up. Pick up the pace. Come on, come on, come on. Right behind you.
how they photo.
Start stabilize.
are climbing up. I've got one media person that cannot make it. He's going downstairs. These folks are walking towards you. They're on the 5th level. Like I told you, over. We've got everything. The elevators won't work, and we found a staircase on the 5th level. We're walking up.
dust caps. It's gonna be.
Start up real slow. Rudder, we're looking for no greater than 3/4 separation.
fact is that we have this vehicle behind us, and we've had it working for us for 30 years. And we're going to look upon this final mission as a celebration of all that the Space Shuttle has accomplished over its 30-year lifespan. Of course, in this past one-third of its flights, it was busy building the International Space Station, and without the Space Shuttle, we wouldn't have that.
Hi, everybody. Just want to echo Chris's remarks. Thanks for coming, and we're really looking forward to the mission. To my left is Sandy Magnus, our Mission Specialist 1. She's got a PhD from Georgia Tech. She's flown 3 times.
It's always spectacular to see the orbiter come out of the VAB. It looks so tiny, but it's really quite massive, and it's very majestic. So we're really happy to be here.
It's a great pleasure to be here and to see our vehicle roll onto the launch pad. It's just a tremendous sight. It really brings it home that, hey, this is real. It also brings it home just how big that spacecraft is. So it's a pleasure to be here, and we want to thank all the folks from the Kennedy Space Center who got it to this point to get it ready to roll out to the pad.
We're going to look now at some video of the rotating service structure, the gantry being pulled back from around Space Shuttle Atlantis yesterday afternoon. That occurred at 2:38 p.m. in conditions not unlike what we have at the moment. It was cloudy with some showers. And altogether it took about a half an hour to move the rotating service structure back into the fully parked position. The rotating service structure is the gantry that surrounds the space shuttle when it's on the launch pad. It provides access to the space shuttle and particularly to the payload bay so that the payload can be installed into the orbiter. And as well, it is also the weather protection for the shuttle while it's on the launch pad. The rotating service structure is 130 feet in height and rotates a third of a turn away from the shuttle before launch. Once the payloads are in the payload change-out room with a rotating service structure, they can be installed into the orbiter with a telescoping device called the payload ground handling mechanism. This also has 5 levels of access platforms that extend inside the payload bay of the shuttle to provide working access to the payloads. And the shuttle, as we see it there, weighs about 4,500,000 pounds. And once the orbiter is on its own and comes back for a landing, it'll weigh only about 6% of what it weighed at launch.
Okay, 10-4. Can you maybe look up Tom's cell phone number for me and give it to me over the
time momentarily, and We're just about ready to begin the tanking operation where we chill down or cooling of the pipes. It will carry the 535,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen to Atlantis' external fuel tank. That is the official kickoff of tanking process. You can see the pumps related to the liquid oxygen side of the fueling process starting to spin up. Currently they're calling for a 30% chance of good weather for this morning's targeted liftoff by the book on schedule at 2:01 a.m. Eastern. You can see the spinning pumps, part of the liquid. And we're now back live looking at Launch Pad 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. What you're looking at is what's known as the flare stack. That burns off the excess hydrogen gas. It goes through the, if you've been following the Space Shuttle program in the past year or so, you've heard this particular acronym used before, the GUP, the Ground Umbilical Carrier Plate. This particular interface between a venting hydrogen pipe that takes this excess hydrogen that comes off during the tanking process. As more liquid hydrogen is pumped into that portion of the tank, the excess gas is funneled out through this pipe and is sent to the flare stack, where it's burned off much like an oil refinery. It burns off at the excess gas. We use the flare stack to burn off the excess hydrogen safely, about 750 feet from the pad. Of course, during the daytime it's much more difficult to see, but in overnight hours like this, we get the question a lot that the fire is out at the launch pad. And in this case, it's a very good thing. We want that fire there. It's a controlled burn that allows us to make the shuttle and the launch pad actually safer. Final inspection team is a 7-person crew that evaluates the external tank under cryogenic conditions. Now that those 2 supercold propellants are loaded into the external tank, I'm looking for any frost or ice that could possibly build up and be a debris source during launch. And they look at, of course, anything else that could be amiss out there at the launch pad. Team plans to take about 2 hours to perform its inspections, and which of course begin at the pad surface and then move up to the top to the 255-foot level, and then proceed down the fixed service structure of the pad to the 215-foot level, the 195-foot level, which is where the astronaut walkway, orbiter access arm, where the crew enters the hatch and gets into Atlantis.
Here they come. Crew going down the elevator, where they'll be greeted by employees from Kennedy Space Center and members of the news media. This is the same elevator that's been used by the astronauts ever since Apollo.
gear and on their hats and things like that. And number one is called the OVCC, Orbital Vehicle Closeout Chief. He's been the crew lead, has 28 years on this team. This is an incredibly experienced and dedicated team that gets the people on the orbiter, and Travis is in charge of the whole thing. And not only is he in charge of this one, but he's in charge of the whole closeout crew. We can see here Chris Ferguson getting put into his seat. And the folks that are helping him get into his seat there are the number 2. If you can see the number 2 on him is Randy Brezhnik. He's actually a Marine Corps colonel. He's one of our astronauts. You can see him in the one screen. And you'll see a real good shot of that right here. You'll see him connected into the straps that Chris is already into, that he came in with his chest strap and everything. So that gets connected there. And they're essentially doing all these connections to make sure he's nice and snug in there and all ready to go. Absolutely, and there's a reason we do that. For the Terminal Countdown Demonstration Test, TCDT, when they come out, we actually have, through the years, taken many things off of the launch flow and moved them into that flow, so they didn't have to do so many things before launch. It used to be that launch was as packed as that, and we just learned that, especially with post-Columbia, the crews have so much to do on flight day 1 and flight day 2 with the inspections and everything else that it's just critical that we send them up there relaxed and with a little bit extra sleep. So we've really tried to scrub the launch timeline to take out anything that's unnecessary. So what we're left with is practice STA flights, shuttle training aircraft flights for the pilot and commander, some briefings that they have to do. The crew will normally go out and check out all their computer lines that are set up. It's called the pre-wiring, that they set up all their computers and cameras and things like that. They'll go out and check that. But other than that, we try to give them free time. Mid-deck is actually done in less time than the flight deck does, and they're concurrent. So it's a little bit odd. You think, okay, there's only 4 people. It's going to take, 25, 30 minutes because there's less people. But really, it takes the same amount of time because this is the timeline, the flight deck, and how long it takes to get those 4 folks strapped in is what drives the time.
Now, having all 4 crew members on the flight.
Those are actually by size. Each crew member picks what size they want that headrest to be, and it depends on how high they want their head up. If you didn't have that at all, you'd actually be holding your head up the entire 2 or 3 hours before launch, which would be incredibly painful. But they get to pick how big they want that headrest to be. Everybody has a lumbar support. It's hard to see here, but there's a little black tube down by Doug's right hip. It's a little black bladder that you can see in your hand there. He would take that and squeeze that up, and you can actually get lumbar support from that. You can reach down to the seat pan and pull yourself down a little bit, which is good. There's a monkey bar that's right above Drew's head. It's about directly in front of Doug. He's actually almost looking at it right now, where you can pick yourself up and move yourself around. The other thing that we do for comfort, that's the absolute best thing we can do, and we'll see this a little bit later with Fergie, is once you get your helmet on and your gloves on and your suit is completely one piece, so it's all sealed, then you can pump air into your suit. And what that does is it gets all the wrinkles out of your suit. Because right now, the way Doug's sitting, when you lay down, obviously there's extra material. It all gets kind of lumpy, and you can get folds. And if you get a fold underneath you, that can be very uncomfortable. So we actually can pump pressure into the suits and over-pressurize them so you kind of look a little bit like the Michelin Man. And that gets all, because it's very important in many cases to have a timer going from the start of a problem to when you fix it. So there's a lot of things that you're doing there. So Chris is over there getting his nest all built while we finish Doug up on the right side.
And all those items are already on board when he gets on board?
They're all on board when he gets there, and they're either waiting for him on Velcro and he just moves them around, or once he's on, Randy will hand them to him. And Randy's got him sitting down there on the bottom, and he'll actually hand those things to him and make sure they're all ready to go. So in some cases, there will be things that they have in their pockets. That's usually not the case, but sometimes they'll have a thing or two in their pocket to carry up there with them that they put up. And they bring the last checklist out with them because they actually have a checklist when they have the pre-flight weather brief that happens right before they suit up. That's the last thing before they suit up. So those actually come out with Randy after the crew.
I understand you to say earlier that even though there's only 4 crew members, that because of the way the process works, it's not going to take any less time to get everybody on board. Is that what you were saying?
It's not going to take any less time to get folks on board. That's because whenever you watch a strap in, the timing is all set by the flight deck, because you've got 4 people instead of 3 downstairs and so much less room. Like downstairs, there's so much room to get people in. It's easy to move around, much easier to do things. You can see how cramped it is up here. I mean, it's very hard not to bang your head on things and bang your hand on things. And of course, there's 400 plus switches that you could hit, none of which you want to. They're all right now, they're safed or they're covered, and that's one of the things you'll see Randy do later is he'll be taking the cover off the most critical switches, because we make sure they've got covers on them when the crew goes in. There's plexiglass covers that cover panels. There are switch protectors that cover panels, and those will all get taken out by Randy. But you have to be very careful on the flight deck and be very deliberate about your motions so you don't hit any of these switches. You don't knock something at the wrong time. And so you'll see that, like Drew right now, his head jammed all the way up against the front cockpit panel there. And he's got to watch his head as he does all of these things. But at the same time, you have to get the job done. So it's very difficult to do. And that's why the flight deck takes so much time. And really, the mid-deck happens during the flight deck. And so it's time that you don't. Right now, we don't have anybody doing it, but we don't need them. For Fergie and Doug, they're both completely strapped in. They're doing well. They're actually talking with each other. You can kind of see, making sure their checklists are all set. Pilot and Commander are a very close-knit team, getting everything done with their mission specialist number 2. So they're making sure all their checklists are all set to go, all their gear's in the right place. Everything's all good to go for launch.
The White Room clue, doing a quick sayonara here. We did want to catch that. And that's a final goodbye from our closeout crew. We did want to catch that since that was going on. But anyway,
And attention all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the launch status check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
OTC is go.
TBC.
Tank and booster go.
PTC.
PTC is go.
LPS.
LPS is go.
Houston flight.
Houston flight, if you pull me at the end, I would appreciate it. Stand by.
Yes, sir, we'll pull you later. Mila.
Mila is go.
STM. STM is go. Safety console.
Safety console is go.
SPE.
SP is go.
LRD. LRD is go. SRO.
SRO is go. You have a range clear to launch.
And CDR.
CDR is go.
And Launch Director NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed with the exception of Flight, who still needs a little bit more time to make his evaluations on RTLS weather.
I copy that. I'll do my poll at this time. KC Chief Processing Engineer, verify no constraints to launch.
No constraints.
Thank you, Steve. KC Safety and Mission Assurance.
Safety and Mission Assurance is go, Mike.
Thank you, Terry. Payload Launch Manager.
Hey, Mike, on behalf of the ISS Ground Processing Team, I want to say thanks to you and the Shuttle team. It's been a great partnership, and we are go.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Range weather.
Launch weather has no constraints for launch.
Thank you, Kathy. Atlantis Flow Director.
On behalf of the Atlantis and KSC Shuttle Processing Team, we are go.
Thank you, Angie. Ops Manager.
See, Mike, waiting to get final go from Flight here. Let's hear what he says, and we'll get back to you.
Copy that. Atlantis Launch Director, Air to Ground 1.
Atlantis, go.
Okay, Fergie, we're starting to feel pretty good down here on the ground about this one today. So on behalf of the greatest team in the world, good luck to you and your crew on the final flight of this true American icon. And so for the final time, Fergie, Doug, Sandy, and Rex, good luck, Godspeed, and have a little fun up there.
Hey, thanks to you and your team, Mike. Until the very end, you all made it look easy. The shuttle's always going to be a reflection of what a great nation can do when it dares to be bold and commits to follow through. We're not ending the journey today, Mike. We're completing a chapter of a journey.
The potential that there would be light precip if we ended up in an RTLS, they've looked at that. Chances of thunder showers are very low, and they believe that's an acceptable risk. We have plenty of energy. We only need one end of the runway on the RTLS. I think we got some sound rationale here to take that waiver on the RTLS wishes your good launch.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And Fergie, you heard those words, so we'll get you going here shortly. Good luck, guys.
Fantastic news. Thanks, Mike.
NTD, was that your launch, Atlantis?
I copy that, sir.
Going here shortly. Good luck, guys.
Fantastic news. Thanks, Mike.
NTD, was that you were clear to launch Atlantis?
I copy that, sir. Thank you.
We'll pick up the countdown in 15 seconds. Picking up in 10 seconds.
The countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
DLS auto sequence has been initiated.
Ground launch sequencer will be checking over 1,000 parameters between now and when it hands off to Atlantis' onboard computers at T-minus 31 seconds. And from 31 seconds on, Atlantis' onboard computers will be completely in control of the countdown and for main engine start. And it will assess in the last 6.6 seconds whether the engines are up to full thrust.
TLT, OTC, connect essential buses to fuel cells per your checklist.
TLT in work. OTC, TLT, that's complete.
Copy.
In about 20 seconds, we'll be retracting the crew orbiter access arm.
DLS is go for orbiter access arm retract.
Atlantis, this is OTC. This day has been over 30 years in the making. There have been many fabulous missions throughout the years. On behalf of KSC launch teams past and present, we salute the entire astronaut corps for their dedication, not only for our expanded knowledge of the universe, but for the improvement you have contributed to on Earth. Have an excellent mission and Godspeed.
Fantastic words, Roberta. Thank you very much. Great to your team. Thank you, sir.
It's Orbiter Test Conductor Roberta Wyrick from United Space Alliance. At T-minus 5 minutes, the pilot will be instructed to start the orbiter auxiliary power units.
JRPS OTC, start APU display recorders.
Yes, JRPS recorders are running.
PLT OTC, perform APU pre-start.
Pre-start work. OTC, TLT, 3 gray talkbacks.
Copy, 3 gray talkbacks.
Coming up on T-minus 5 minutes in 3, 2, 1, T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
Go for orbiter APU start.
PLT OTC, perform APU start. CDR OTC, reconfigure heaters.
That's in work.
Solid rocket booster safe and arm devices are now being armed.
OTC PLP, 3 good APUs.
Copy, 3 good APUs.
Next milestone is a check of the orbiter's flight controls.
TLS is go for purge sequence 4.
And there will be a steering check of Atlantis's 3 main engines. Verifying now that the main engines are in their start position.
TLS is go for ET LO2 pressurization.
Starting now the retraction of the gaseous oxygen vent arm, the vent hood.
TLT OTC, clear caution warning memory, verify no unexpected errors.
Fuel cells going to internal. External tank camera being activated at this time.
OTC PLP, no unexpected errors.
Copy that. Flight crew OTC, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow.
That's in work.
T-minus 2 minutes.
TLS is go for ET LH2 pressurization.
Solid rocket booster camera is being activated. T-minus
30 seconds.
Sound suppression water system is being armed. T-minus 1 minute. But oxygen and liquid hydrogen fill and drain valves are closed. T-minus 40 seconds, handing off to Atlantis' computers at T-minus 31. T-minus 35, 33.
Clock will hold at T-minus 31 seconds due to a failure.
And we have had a failure. Grand launch sequencer.
We had a problem on the GOX retract switches. NNTDSP. Go ahead. Yes, sir. We need guys to go do the verification per the LCC, please.
All right, CMAC? Yes, CMAC. The LCC says we need to verify using a camera, and we're positioning camera 62 right now.
Okay, let us know as soon as 62 is swung over and you can verify LCC for GVA retract, please.
And And all personnel, we're holding here at 31 seconds while we get a verification that the GVA has fully retracted per our pre-plan.
This is CMAC. We verify retracted.
Okay, and you can verify that it is fully retracted per the instructions that we've been that we developed, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and SPE?
And NTD, SPE concurs. They satisfy the requirements of GSE 13 pre-plan contingency. I am go.
Okay, I copy. And launch director?
Yes, sir. I heard all that and concur. Press on.
All right, very good.
NTD, ST.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I need concurrence to GLS and mass to clear the hold, please.
Very good. And GLS, you have concurrence? Go.
Copy that. It's in work.
Thank you. Let us know when that's complete.
NTD, we have it in work.
All right, guidance.
And just a reminder for folks, our lock turn back hold time is 3 minutes and 16 seconds.
NTD, CTLS on 212. We're ready to go.
All right, very good. And launch director, with that cleanup, we're going to go ahead and proceed.
Yes, sir. Please do.
All right. And all personnel, we are going to pick up the clock here momentarily. And GLS, you can resume the clock on your mark.
Copy that. Countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
E-minus.
Go for auto sequence start.
Handoff to Atlantis' computers has occurred. Solid rocket booster nozzle steering check and work.
20.
Firing chain is armed.
15.
Go for main engine start. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. The final liftoff of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Roger, roll, Atlantis. Houston now controlling the flight of Atlantis. The space shuttle spreads its wings one final time for the start of a sentimental journey into history. 24 seconds into the flight, roll program complete. Atlantis now heads down, wings level on the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Space Station. 40 seconds into the flight, the 3 liquid fuel main engines throttling back to 72% of rated performance in the bucket, reducing stress on the shuttle as it goes transonic for the final time. Engines now revving up, standing by for the throttle up call.
Atlantis, go at throttle up, no action, DPDT.
Go with throttle up, no action on DPDT.
That call from Capcom Barry Wilmore, a transducer, instrumentation only, no action required. Atlantis now 15 miles in altitude, already 16 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 1 minute 40 seconds into the flight. Atlantis flexing its muscles one final time. Atlantis traveling almost 2,600 miles an hour, 21 miles in altitude, 24 miles downrange, standing by for solid rocket booster separation. Booster officer confirms staging a good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging. The main engine steering the shuttle on a pinpoint path to its preliminary orbit. 2 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Atlantis already traveling 3,200 miles an hour, 35 miles in altitude, 50 miles downrange. The propulsion officer reports the orbital maneuvering system engines have ignited. Atlantis kicking on its afterburners for 1 minute, 23 seconds for the final phase of powered flight.
Atlantis, 2 engine towel.
failure. However, Atlantis' 3 engines performing perfectly. 4 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Atlantis currently traveling 5,500 miles an hour, 62 miles in altitude, almost 200 miles downrange. 4 minutes of powered flight remaining. Atlantis speeding straight as an arrow toward its date with the International Space Station Sunday morning. Coming up on the 5-minute mark. Atlantis now traveling 6,500 miles an hour, 66 miles in altitude, 250 miles downrange.
Atlantis, press to ATO.
Press to ATO.
That call indicating we can make minimal orbital targets in the event of an engine failure. All 3 engines continue to function normally. Atlantis will begin its slow roll to a heads-up position shortly. Five and a half minutes into the flight. Atlantis traveling 7,700 miles an hour, 315 miles downrange.
Atlantis, single engine, ops 3.
Single engine, ops 3.
And the guidance officer here in Mission Control confirms that the computers are commanding the main engines to swivel.
Zaragoza, 104.
Single engine, Zaragoza, 104.
We've rolled to a heads-up position now, providing better communications to the tracking and data relay satellite system as Atlantis heads uphill. 6 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight.
Atlantis, press to MECO.
Press to MECO.
That call indicates that we can make our normal orbital cutoff targets in the event of an engine failure. However, all 3 main engines continue to function normally.
Nominal. Fergie, go the plus X, go the pitch.
Nominal shutdown plan. Go for the plus X, go for the pitch.
That call indicating that we will be in good shape for the orientation of Atlantis for external tank photography following main engine cutoff. Now 7 minutes into the flight. One minute, 20 seconds till main engine cutoff. Atlantis traveling 12,000 miles an hour. The main engines will soon be throttling down once again to limit the stress on the shuttle and its 4 crew members to that of 3 times the effective gravity. Atlantis currently traveling at a speed of more than 4 miles a second. 1 minute of powered flight remaining for Atlantis. Three good main engines, 3 good auxiliary power units, 3 good fuel cells. Approaching the 8-minute mark into the flight. Atlantis now traveling more than 15,000 miles an hour. Eight minutes, 15 seconds into the flight, standing by for main engine cutoff. That'll be followed a few seconds later by the separation of the external fuel tank. Booster officer confirms main engine cutoff. For the last time, the Space Shuttle's main engines have fallen silent as the shuttle slips into the final chapter of a storied 30-year adventure. Now standing by for external tank separation. Atlantis off the tank. Commander Chris Ferguson will be maneuvering Atlantis now into an orientation to enable Sandy Magnus to capture digital still imagery of the external fuel tank as it drifts away.
OMS 1 is not required. Your preliminary OMS 2 TIG 37 minutes.
37 minutes, no ohms 1 required, thanks.
Flight, we're still GPC on the antennas. Go for command.
C1 manual antenna, lower.
We'll still take the lower left forward manual antenna flight. Okay.
Select lower left forward.
Okay.
And
don't forget.
we're on forward here, Tom.
5 minutes till we need the GPC on the antenna.
We got it.
All the way to the end, right when he's flying.
1-4, here comes APU number 3. Max, you ready? We're watching, Chunky.
Early enough to activate once the repowering support dance parameters, other controls, challenges that.
Max, APU3 is up and running. Looks good in low press. Very good. Okay, folks. Let's get over to the 3-18 for the Gilbert Burn 2 engine.
Now 4 minutes away from the
See, like we said in the sim, time to make our mamas proud.
Flight prep. Prep. We see you got helium config. The crew's on the card.
Copy. Atlantis for 45 seconds, and then we'll need GPC on the antennas.
Prop. Flight prep. 2 engines arm press. Good config for the burn.
All right, Capcom. Good config for the deorbit burn. Atlantis, good config for the deorbit burn.
Good config for the burn. Houston, thanks. Burn's enabled. Copy. Flight proper burning. 2 good engines. Good control.
All right, copy.
propulsion officer reports to the dynamic testing of the craft called Enterprise.
Safe HP.
Copy, safe HP. Coming home, folks.
Flight guidance, good burn, no trim required.
All right. Atlantis, good burn, no trim required. All right, folks, 3-32.
Good burn, no trim required. Ohms engines worked beautifully up until the very end.
Outstanding. 3-32, folks. Prop any deltas to your post-burn reconfig?
Negative.
Okay.
As written.
Time and time again, in support of spatial missions for so many functions. Atlantis now committed from the landing of the Kennedy Space Center. Touchdown scheduled 1 hour, 3 minutes.
Chunky, no deltas to your post-burn reconfig.
Copy, Butch. We'll put it in work.
Seeing guidance, you ready for 303 when we get there?
Guidance, go.
All right. Ohms gimbal power down, GNC, any deltas?
No deltas.
All right, let's see. Secondary actuator check, not required.
Not required.
All right, and prop, when you get it, I'll take your dump time.
We'll go flight. Prop. We see post-burn reconfig complete. 3-32.
All right, thanks, Dean. Okay, folks, 3-34. Atlantis, your secondary actuator check is not required on 3-35, and Chunky, we're just about to get you your forward RCS dump time.
Copy. Secondary actuator check not required. Thanks. Flight guidance, we see a good 303 attitude loaded. Go for the maneuver.
Okay, copy. Atlantis, you are go for the maneuver. We see a good attitude.
Copy. Go for the maneuver. Here we go.
Okay, copy that.
Flight prep. Prep. We're looking at a 4-jet dump time of 32 seconds.
32 seconds. Copy, 4-jet. Chunky, your four-jet forward RCS dump time is 32 seconds.
Copy, Butch. 3-2, 32 seconds.
Good read back.
Flight Fido with entry sim results.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I can verify that we are on a good trajectory to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We have good temps, expecting 7 end cycles. And the positive H dot on the first roll reversal is now looking like about 20 foot per second. New closed loop guidance init time is 18:00:56.
See what changed that, Jenny? Just curious, since we were targeted.
I mean, orbital dispersions. I don't have anything specific I can point to.
Okay.
We did target 8
you're
end
starting to
cycles.
sound like Inco with this.
That's a good thing.
Ouch. We targeted 8 end cycles, and we ended up with 7.
Okay. Just real quick information. We mentioned earlier about you can expect a positive H dot on your first roll reversal. Looks like it's going to be about 20 feet per second.
Hey, that's a great heads up. Thanks, Butch.
Functions because there's not enough air pressure. Also, dissipating energy and having disturbance.
All right, let's see. Prop, you ready for your forward dump?
See the entry is in progress, flight.
Okay.
35,769 miles over.
Forward dump in progress. 4 good thrusters.
All right, thanks, Dean.
Momentarily now in support of landing.
Here comes APUs 1 and 2 on time.
We're ready and watching. Thanks, Chunky.
Here comes SSME hide repress.
Max? Flight Max, we're ready. We got 3 good APUs. Excellent. We're ready for that, Chunky. Also, high fluid thermal conditioning is not required.
Copy. Thermal conditioning not required.
All the entry software.
Flight GC.
Go ahead.
I'd like to go ahead and get you enabled on air to grounds.
You have a go.
Copy and work.
We're looking real good. Still recommending KSE 15 nominal aim point, nominal speed break. And we'll be touching down 2200 with 19 on the boards at 3K.
Still targeting runway 15 northwest and southeast.
Okay, thank you.
430 feet per second. Time to touchdown.
We are doing fantastic. How about you?
We're doing fantastic, Butch. I wish we could share everybody with everybody this really cool glow. It's just amazing outside.
Yeah, we were just talking about imagining it ourselves.
That was easy for you to say.
Flight Fido, dual source tracking shows us on energy, on ground track.
All right, nav is go.
Nav is go. We show you touching down 2,200 feet at 205 knots, and you should see 19% on the speed brake.
Okay, we copy all, Butch, at 19% on the speed brake.
Good joy, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, GC.
Flight Fido, good filter, still on and on.
You're looking good to us, Atlantis. You're just passing the west coast of Florida.
Oh, okay. A little further than I thought we were. Got a little bit of an echo.
GC.
It should be clear now.
Okay. Atlantis, take air data.
Take air data.
Yes.
ground energy approaching the hack. No changes to winds or weather. Nominal shoot.
No change to winds and weather, nominal shoot.
On at the 180.
Atlantis, on at the 180.
PLT's copy, on at the 180.
On at the 90.
Atlantis, on at the 90.
On at the 90.
CDR is flying.
Commander Chris Ferguson now back on the stick. Atlantis descending at an angle 7 times steeper than that of a commercial.
Processing MLS. Copy.
Hey, field in sight, Houston.
Copy, Atlantis. Field in sight.
As it approaches the runway, Commander Chris Ferguson will flare up Atlantis' nose to burn off excess.
For the room, on glide slope, on center line.
Copy. Nominal, approach and land. Copy, thanks.
Flare maneuver executed.
Gear down and locked.
Copy gear.
Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown.
Main gear touchdown.
Copy.
Ferguson awaits you with the nose gear down to the deck.
Nose gear touchdown.
Ground speed enabled.
Alrighty, immediate post-landing deltas. Max? Ecom?
None.
Eagle?
None for Eagle.
CGNC?
None.
Prop?
No deltas.
CACO?
Nothing.
DPS?
None.
Eco?
None.
And booster?
None.
Alright, 5-3. Seeing Inco, make sure you give me a heads up when we get the S-pan on upper antennas and pointing inhibited.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Mission complete, Houston. After serving the world for over 30 years, the Space Shuttle's earned its place in history and it's come to a final stop.
We copy your will stop, and we'll take this opportunity to congratulate you, Atlantis, as well as the thousands of passionate individuals across this great spacefaring nation who truly empower this incredible spacecraft, which for 3 decades has inspired millions around the globe. Job well done, America.
Hey, thanks, Butch. Great words. Great words. You know, the Space Shuttle's changed the way we view the world, and it's changed the way we view our universe. There's a lot of emotion today, but one thing's indisputable. America's not going to stop exploring. Thank you, Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Endeavor, and our ship Atlantis. Thank you for protecting us and bringing this program to such a fitting end. God bless all of you. God bless the United States of America.
Inspiring comments, Atlantis. We'll meet you on 5-3.
We'll see you there, Butch.
Flight Inco. Inhibited on a first.
Alright, let's see, in Ecom we'll use 60 minutes as our initial hack.
That's a good hack, and we're ready for rad reconfig on 5-8.
Okay, 5-8, copy Capcom, 5-8, rad reconfig.
As you can see, the mobile venting of the auxiliary power units on Atlantis, convoy team around the vehicle before long. Control here in the direction of entry flight directions. Touchy with the crew green light to shut down the power units at the very final
Top left. Top left.
From Houston, we'll need you in 5-22, NH3 reconfig. Let me know when you're there.
Backup teams are expected flight.
Copy.
All right, and then once we get up to 55, let's see if they swap over yet.
No action yet.
Okay.
It's going to be hard, but we're going to walk off Atlantis.
We understand, Fergie. Job well done.
See, everybody's happy. The only thing we're worried. Let's see. Prop, you're happy. Everything's configured the way you like it. GNC, Max.
Prop's in a good config.
Max is in a good config.
GNC's in a good config.
Eagle.
Eagle's in a good config.
Ecom.
We're good.
DPS.
Yes.
And encode.
We're done.
And booster.
Good config.
Okay.
We're good. So you can turn it over to
Right, Conrad, we are, looks like all the switches are good, and you are cleared to hand over to the ground personnel there.
Houston, final switch service from the MTF are complete. Thank you.
All right, guys, got one more step here to do, but before we do that, hopefully I can get through this, but I don't, you know, like, so let's see, I'd like to take this opportunity, pass on a few words, and this will be the last time this team will be together. See, first and foremost, I wanted to thank you guys, my colleagues, my friends, the shuttle flight controllers of mission operations. It's been my extreme privilege and honor to have worked with each one of you and have been part of this outstanding team of individuals so dedicated and passionate about the work they do. Each one of you should take great pride in the accomplishments you have achieved and know that you are the main reason for the success of the Space Shuttle program. 30 years ago, the dream had just begun. The flight director for entry was Crimson Flight, Don Putty, with Capcom Joe Allen. As Columbia's nose gear touched down and began rollout, Putty told his team, prepare for acceleration. Well, the shuttle hasn't failed us in that. It was a moment for the history books. Today is also a moment in the history books. Those books will talk about the amazing work of the flight control teams over the past 30 years. The work done in this room and this building will never again be duplicated. I believe that the accomplishments of the shuttle program will become the next set of shoulder of giants for the future programs to stand on. Hold your heads up high with pride as we close out the Space Shuttle program. You have earned it. To all, like I always say, savor the moment, soak it in, and know you are the best in the world. Your work here has made America and the world a better place. It's been an unbelievable and amazing journey. From Intrepid Flight to the entire NASA team, God bless you all and Godspeed. So with that, why don't you guys go ahead and get your MIPSer guys if you want. Bring them all in here and we'll go ahead and watch the crew walk around. And while I finish handing over the vehicle.
All right. Yes, sir. You called too early? Go ahead.
Here in the flight control room, all of the engineers who have worked so tirelessly over the years in support of space shuttle missions are filtering into the space shuttle flight control room to share the moment. You heard the words from entry flight director Tony Sacacci, but those are words that are echoing through the hearts of every single technician and engineer from every single discipline here at the Johnson Space Center. The room is quickly filling up. Handshakes all around. A very emotional moment, a very historic moment. This is Mission Control Houston. Amongst the well-wishers here in Mission Control, Mike Coates, the Center Director of the Johnson Space Center. who flew on the maiden flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery. Joining others here in the flight control room, which is now filled with people expressing their emotions and their congratulations on the completion of the Space Shuttle program. This is Mission Control Houston, less than 15 minutes away from the deorbit burn. Atlantis flying 240 miles above the Earth over the Caspian Sea, moving from northwest to southeast in the correct orientation for the deorbit burn that is scheduled for 3:49 and 4 seconds Central Time, 4:49:04 Eastern Time. This will be a 3-minute, 16-second retrograde burn of both orbital maneuvering system engines, slowing Atlantis down by 331 feet per second, allowing the orbiter to drop out of its current orbit and begin the trek back to the Kennedy Space Center, where the weather is ideal this morning. No issues have been worked throughout the course of the night. Clear skies, 10 miles visibility, virtually no wind to greet the 4 crew members aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis. The deorbit burn is underway. The propulsion officer reports 2 good orbital maneuvering system engines. Atlantis starts the beginning of the end of a journey that started with the aerodynamic testing of a craft called Enterprise in 1977, punctuated by the maiden launch of Columbia in 1981, culminating this morning with a night flight to the Kennedy Space Center. This is going to be dumping propellant out of its forward jets. The aft reaction control system steering jets will be controlling the shuttle's aerodynamic functions because there is not enough air pressure in the upper regime of the atmosphere for the Elevon's rudder, speed brake, and body flap to become active until the shuttle descends further into the atmosphere. We're 20. Atlantis now at the point of entry interface, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. The force of gravity will be building up against the 4 crew members up on the flight deck. Atlantis 74 miles in altitude, range to touchdown 5,000 statute miles. Descending at a rate of 500 feet per second. All of its systems in excellent shape. And again, outside of Building 1 here at the Johnson Space Center, crowds continuing to build here in the final minutes prior to Atlantis' touchdown, watching the proceedings on a big Jumbotron screen right outside of the main administrative building here. And radar tracking now acquired through the Merritt Island tracking station near the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis just 450 miles from its destination, 31 miles in altitude, traveling 10 times the speed of sound, nearing the southwest coast of Florida. The TACANs are the Tactical Air Navigation Aids. 3 redundant units aboard the orbiter receiving data of range, elevation, and bearing from radio beacons at the landing site. Now looking over the shoulder of pilot Doug Hurley on the flight deck of Atlantis, this pilot point of view camera. 5 minutes till touchdown. Atlantis soon will be going subsonic. first view through infrared cameras at the Kennedy Space Center. Commander Chris Ferguson now flying Atlantis. 3.5 minutes until touchdown. Piercing the pre-dawn sky as the space shuttle announces its arrival at the launch site with its signature sound of twin sonic booms having gone subsonic for the last time.
Atlantis, on at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180.
Pilot Doug Hurley now taking a few seconds of stick time on Atlantis. With a fitting elegance for its final moments of flight, Atlantis takes one last lap around the Kennedy Space Center.
Atlantis, on at the 90.
On at the 90.
Commander Chris Ferguson now back on the stick. Atlantis descending at an angle 7 times steeper than that of a commercial jetliner.
Hey, field in sight, Houston.
Copy, Atlantis, field in sight.
As it approaches the runway, Commander Chris Ferguson will flare up Atlantis' nose to burn off excess speed prior to the landing gear deployment by pilot Doug Hurley. Once again, the view from the pilot point of view camera, 1 minute till touchdown. The pre-flare maneuver executed. Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Hurley now deploying the drag chute. Ferguson rotating the nose gear down to the deck. Nose gear touchdown. Having fired the imagination of a generation, a ship like no other, its place in history secured, the Space Shuttle pulls into port for the last time. Its voyage at an end.
Mission complete, Houston. After serving the world for over 30 years, the Space Shuttle's earned its place in history and it's come to a final stop.
We copy your will stop, and we'll take this opportunity to congratulate you, Atlantis, as well as the thousands of passionate individuals across this great spacefaring nation who truly empowered this incredible spacecraft, which for 3 decades has inspired millions around the globe. Job well done, America.
Hey, thanks, Butch. Great words. Great words. You know, the Space Shuttle's changed the way we view the world, and it's changed the way we view our universe. There's a lot of emotion today, but one thing's indisputable. America's not going to stop exploring. Thank you, Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Endeavour, and our ship Atlantis. Thank you for protecting us and bringing this program to such a fitting end. God bless all of you. God bless the United States of America.
Inspiring comments, Atlantis. We'll meet you on 5-3.
We'll see you there, Butch.
Shuttle here under the direction of Entry Flight Director Tony Sacacci will give the crew a green light to shut down the auxiliary power units for the very final time. 4:57 and 20 seconds a.m. Central Time. And wheel stop officially marked now at 12 days, 18 hours, 28 minutes, 50 seconds, 4:57, 54 a.m. Central Time.
Give me a second. I'm going to introduce you. Yes, sir. I'm going to give you a speech. All right. It's all yours. Can I hold your flag? I got it. I got it. You all probably can't hear me out there, but I'm going to talk to the mic anyway. You know, it's a great day to be here and to welcome the STS-134 crew back home. I personally want to salute them and everybody who's been involved in this program. It's been a 30-year journey that has been absolutely incredible. And I want to say that all of us stand on the shoulders of some pretty giants, none any better than this. They have come to be known as the Final Four. And they did an absolutely incredible job. If you had an opportunity to watch anytime during the mission, they were like racehorses the whole time. So they made us very proud. You know, we've been exploring since early in our country's history, and what Fergie and his crew did this time was kind of close out this era of our exploration. But I want everybody who was involved in this to feel incredibly proud of what you did and what your role was. Like me, they got an opportunity to do the fly-in, but we owe an incredible debt of gratitude to the thousands, literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of folk around the country who made all this possible. I had a chance to talk to some of you this morning, and you know, we were lining up the convoy. I thank you again for everything that you've done. The things that we've done have set us up for exploration of the future, but I don't want to talk about that right now. I just want to salute this crew, welcome them home, let them know how proud we are of them. And Fergie, I ask you to come on up and talk for your crew there. So thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Charlie. We really appreciate those remarks. I'll tell you what, you know, flying in space is a real dream, but flying in space, it has a lot more to do with who you do it with than what you do. And these three folks, Rex and Sandy and Doug, I'll tell you, if a commander couldn't ask for three better people to go and perform an aggressive and to a certain extent, historic mission. I mean, there's no doubt that there was a lot of attention paid to this mission because it does bring to a final close 30 years of space shuttle history. I'm going to speak on behalf of them and just say that we're all, the three of us or four of us, we're honored to be a part of this. But ultimately, it's everyone who's worked on the shuttle program. Although we got to take the ride, we sure hope that everybody who has ever worked or touched or looked at or envied or admired a space shuttle was able to take just a little part of the journey with us. We're going to put Atlantis in a museum now, along with the other three orbiters, for generations that will come after us to admire and appreciate. And hopefully, I want that picture of a young 6-year-old boy looking up at a space shuttle in a museum and say, you know, Daddy, I want to do something like that when I grow up. Or I want our country to do fantastic things like this for the continued future. And if we set those steps right now and they continue with that next generation of space explorers, then I consider our job here complete. So again, on behalf of the crew, thank you so much for the time and the attention. And for the folks at KSC, thank you for this fantastic vehicle. It performed absolutely wonderfully. Not a glitch, and it's just as pristine as it was, I hope, on the day that we took it, barring maybe a door to the WCS, which opened up a little bit on entry. But everything is wonderful, the vehicle is great, and thank you very much.
Excuse us. All right, that's good.
Good morning and welcome to our STS-135 post-landing news conference. We're pleased today to be joined by NASA Associate Administrator for Space Operations, Mr. Bill Gerstenmaier.
Good morning.
Kennedy Space Center Director, Bob Cabana.
Hi.
Space Shuttle Program Launch Integration Manager, Mike Moses.
Good morning.
And Shuttle Launch Director, Mike Leinbach.
Good morning, everybody.
We'll open up with some comments from the panel, and then we'll be happy to take your questions. Mr. Gerstenmaier?
Thanks, Mike. First of all, I really want to thank the Space Shuttle team and the Space Shuttle program for just a tremendous effort today and throughout the entire history of the program. You know, I can't say enough about the team and how great a job they've done. We gave them a tremendous challenge to fly and execute these missions and to finish strong, and I can tell you today the team accomplished every one of those objectives, and they just did a tremendous job. When we walked out on the runway and we looked underneath the vehicle, it was one of the cleaner vehicles I've seen. The bottom of the vehicle looked excellent. The entire mission was very smooth. A tremendous amount of cargo was transferred back and forth between the station and the shuttle. All that went tremendously smoothly. Everything worked just flawlessly, just like it should on every mission. So with all the distractions and the problems of uncertainty of where the future was going and things, the team stayed focused. They did exactly what they needed to go do, and they really delivered a quality end to the program. So I want to, again, thank the team for that. I'd also like to thank the nation for allowing us to have these 30 years to go use this shuttle system. This is a tremendous vehicle. As I stood out on the runway and stared at it, I looked at this winged vehicle and I thought about all the systems and when they were designed back in the 70s. And it was a true marvel looking at that machine sitting on the runway. It's really allowed us to do amazing things, and it's going to continue to allow us to do amazing things in the future. And that's the next steps. The next steps are the space station. We're going to continue to use the space station. We've put it in as best a posture as we can for this next period of time. We'll see the new commercial cargo providers come online late this year and the beginning of next year. We get a chance to see if space can really be that research facility that we need. We can learn new things from space that are really unique and help us here. So we'll continue on with that in the commercial activities. And then we need to get on with our exploration plans. I think we need to really get some good ideas to go forward beyond low Earth orbit to keep moving forward. So again, you know, I can't thank the shuttle team enough for what they've done. You know, I recognize that the change is very hard, and but huge growth or huge improvement really comes from change. And so this team that can accomplish almost anything that they're asked to go do, you know, I know that they can accomplish great things in the future, both individually and as a team. I wish them the best as they go forward. They should be very proud of what they have done. They've accomplished everything we wanted them to go do. They will be successful in the future, and they will do great things. Thank you, Space Shuttle team. Bob?
Thanks, Bill. Bill pretty much captured it. First off, it is great to have Atlantis safely home after a tremendously successful mission, and home to stay, and that's really important too. I just can't say enough good things about the processing team here at KSC and how they've performed these last few flights. When you consider, you know, I mean, it's been our #1 goal the last couple of years to safely fly out the shuttle program, and we've accomplished that. And when you consider the folks that know they're going to be out of work here in tomorrow is their last day, and they're they've performed flawlessly right up to the very end with high morale and dedicated to what they're doing. And that's the kind of workers we've got here at KSC. And it just, I have extreme pride in each and every one of them, and I'm just really pleased. I'm proud to be part of the program at this point in history. As Bill said, you know, we've achieved that goal now. We have safely flown out the shuttle, and we're gonna take pride in that today. We're gonna celebrate. We've got a team event going on outside the OPF as we tow Atlantis back. We're gonna pause for a little bit, allow folks to get pictures with the vehicle in the background, and celebrate what we have accomplished these past 30 years with the Space Shuttle program, and specifically with this last mission. But when that's complete, then it's time to move on and focus to the future. And as Bill said, you know, you can't continue to do the same things and expect to do something else that's better. You have to have change. And in the austere budget times that we have, we cannot afford to continue to fly the Space Shuttle and still work on those future programs. So now we're going to take this extremely talented and dedicated team that we have across the agency that has been focused on the Space Shuttle program, and we're going to focus a lot of energy on enabling that future for KSC, for NASA, and our nation. And we will enable commercial space to get our crews to and from the space station. And we're going to work on that heavy lift vehicle that's going to allow us to explore beyond our home planet. And as you all know, the multi-purpose crew vehicle was named Orion. The first hardware for the test vehicle arrives here at the Cape later this year to be processed over in the ONC High Bay. So we're going to focus on what we need to do to prepare the launch site, the facilities here, to make it a multi-user spaceport, to enable commercial space, and to get us that big rocket that allows us to go exploring as we move beyond our home planet. So I think today's a great day to celebrate. There's a lot of emotions, highs and lows, as we give hugs and say goodbyes, but also take pride in what we've accomplished. And it's pretty amazing when you look back on it. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Let's see. Boy, it's been a heck of a day. And a heck of a program. I personally, same kind of sentiments. Unbelievably proud to be here representing the Space Shuttle program and the thousands of people across the country that do the work. The Kennedy teams do an amazing job. You saw this vehicle performed almost flawlessly. Hardly any issues to talk about at all. Really let us focus on the mission of stocking up the station for the future. The teams back at Johnson Space Center in Houston, the mission control team, is world-class. There is none better for executing a mission and flying the plan. The lead flight directors and the ascent entry flight directors really lead an amazing team of folks back there. In addition to all the station support controllers and the rest of the engineering staff at Johnson Space Center. And then our friends up at Marshall Space Flight Center put together a truly awesome set of propulsion hardware to get us into orbit every time that's worked flawlessly and has been doing just fantastic here in the home stretch. Allowing us to really do exactly what we've all been talking about, which is finishing strong and keeping on the target. When you look back, the shuttle program's racked up quite a history. I was just doing a little quick math. We did 1,300 days in orbit. If you think about that for all the vehicles in the fleet, that's about 43 months of time up in space. It's nothing compared to the time that the space station's clocking up, but for a vehicle built 30 years ago whose purpose was to build the space station, it's quite a feat. And that station itself is impressive. You guys saw the station. Hopefully, you got to see the station fly by about 10 minutes before landing. I don't know how much we owe the station program for doing that, but man, it was picture perfect. I couldn't have thought of anything better to do than to have that go by just before we had touchdown. You know, hearing the sonic booms as Atlantis came home for the last time really made it drive home to me that this has been a heck of a program. And again, I just can't even begin to put into words my feelings. You know, they all kind of culminated there. Right now, I don't feel too much other than just a little bit hungry, a little bit tired. But it's been a nice ride, and I don't think I can say anything else without blabbering on. So I'm just going to pass it on to Mike.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I have two statements I'd like to make. One is to thank the workforce here at the Kennedy Space Center. I've worked here all my career, 27 years, and you get to know the folks here and you get to love them all. And those folks out on the runway today were doing the job today just like they've done every other landing, and it was just a marvel to see. I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but these feelings from myself and from the other guys up here are true feelings that the workers out here and across the country in the Space Shuttle program have dedicated their lives, their hearts, and their souls to this program, and I couldn't be more proud of them and to call them my friends and to wish them well. Second, I'd like to thank you all, members of the press, for the years of service. You've become family members as well. Some of you have gone way back, Jay in particular, and so you all have been good friends of the space program too, so I'd like to thank you all. It's a good day. Program's over, mission complete. Everybody feels good that we got the crew home safely, and we're looking forward to our next challenges. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take questions here. Please wait for the microphone, state your name and affiliation, and to whom you're addressing your question, and we'll start off with Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for Mike Leinbach. When was the most emotional point for you this morning? Seeing the shuttle, walking up to it, hearing the booms. Could you just sort of share your sentiments?
Well, there were several, Marcia. Deorbit burn, the go for the burn, knowing that this mission was coming to an end. Out on the runway, I found myself, as I did with Discovery and Endeavour, just taking in the beauty of the vehicle, standing back and taking pictures and taking pictures of the workers and them asking for a picture with me, and it was just it was a family event out there today. Hard to describe the emotions. They were good emotions that we brought the crew home safely and the mission's complete. Certainly sadness that it's over and people will be moving on, and I hate to see them leave, but that's a reality. I saw grown men and grown women crying today. Tears of joy, to be sure. And that was just human emotions came out on the runway today, and you couldn't suppress them.
Jay?
Jay Barbary with NBC. Bill, the question today really is, we're celebrating, but when will astronauts lift off again from Cape Canaveral? We've had 166 flights with this one. And I know that SpaceX is asking to deliver cargo before the year's end with their Dragon spacecraft. They haven't yet got approval from NASA. Maybe you can tell us where that is. And if you really think that they have a shot, or Boeing has a shot with their CST-100 to put astronauts in space from here by 2014 or 2015. What's your thinking on that? And also for Mr. Cabana, my friend, I want to say that we old guys took a vote among ourselves here today, and we decided that these two mics sitting up there are the best that you can find. And if you mess with them, we're going to have to come talk to you. Okay?
I owe you $20.
All right, 25.
25. Well, I agree.
Okay, Bob.
I guess, first of all, in terms of the combination of the C2, which is the demonstration flight where we were just going to go close to the space station with the Dragon capsule, and then we were going to do C3, which was actually go up and stop and then be picked up by the arm and then berth to station. We technically have agreed with SpaceX that we want to combine those flights, but we haven't given them formal approval yet. We still want to go through some more analysis to go take a look and define exactly what criteria makes up that combined mission, what objectives are there, what the go-no-go criteria is. And there's also some details of the flight design we would like to get through, and then there's also some analysis we'd like to work with SpaceX in terms of their software systems, do some Monte Carlo runs to go look at the robustness. Because overall what we want to do is we want to get to cargo delivery as fast as we can, and if the systems are mature enough and the design is mature enough, combining those two flights is that best way to get cargo to ISS in the fastest manner possible. If there's still a little bit of work to do, and there's a lot of work to do, you may gain something by splitting them back into two missions, where you do one, you do a little bit less demanding, but then that gives you a lot of knowledge. It then helps you apply that knowledge to that next mission that follows. So we're trying to decide what the right exact step is, but we are doing all the planning to go ahead and have those missions combined. The capsule's being designed that way, the software's being built that way, and we're just kind of waiting for the right formal time that we collectively agree that this is the right thing to go forward. So we're very aggressively working that with the SpaceX Corporation through a series of reviews and also some internal reviews within NASA to get that activity done. And there may not be a crisp day. We kind of talked about deciding that in July. It may be in August, September. We'll find the right time when we get enough runs and data behind us so we can formally say we're heading that way, but we are technically definitely looking at those missions being combined. The next question is a little bit about commercial crew. Again, I think there's a lot of work to be done there. There was some meeting held yesterday where we're starting to talk to all the commercial providers or all the folks that could be interested in doing commercial crew activities. We're in the middle of Commercial Crew Development 2, which is a series of tests, and you know the contractors that are involved, the 4 that we've got. And then we'll go ahead and continue to work through that. We'll potentially look at some contracts or SpaceX to go ahead and continue that activity. We think that culminates sometime around in a flight in maybe 2015, 2016 timeframe. It's a lot of work to really get ready to go carry crew, and we'll let the technical work kind of drive us and see where we are, but I think from a planning standpoint we'll look to that kind of time frame. So say mid 2015, 2016 we could potentially see Americans again launching here from the Kennedy Space Center. But the first things immediately are to see how well cargo works, to see what we can do from a cargo standpoint. That's absolutely critical to station, and we'll get those first easier steps first, and then step up to the more demanding task of flying crew.
Heavy lift announcement. Heavy lift announcement.
Yeah, heavy lift announcement. Again, we've worked kind of a technical recommendation we have. We're still working through the budgeting estimates associated with that. We've got to show folks that we have a very viable, credible plan to go do that. So we're spending a lot of time in Washington explaining to folks what the plan is, what our technical recommendation is. Plan's probably too strong a term, but it's our recommendation of the way we would like to proceed. So as soon as we can get them to understand the way we've put together our budget assumptions, there's an independent cost assessment that's going on by a corporation. It'll take a look at what we've done. They'll also go look at the way we've put together the pieces to see if that's the right way to move forward, and maybe in the August time frame that activity is complete, and then we're ready to go talk about more formally what's going to be there for heavy lift. But we've got a pretty strong technical recommendation. We know what we want to go do. We think we've got features in there that are really beneficial to us overall to keep us moving forward, but we want others to review that to make sure that it is right before we officially announce it.
August.
I don't know.
Okay. Clara.
Hi, Clara Moskowitz with Space.com, and it's a question for anybody who'd like to answer. I know that up until Wheels Stop, you've all been primarily focused on completing the mission and completing the program, and I wonder just how much have you had to push aside some of the emotions, and how much have they maybe come to hit you now that that work is done?
Well, for me, you know, it was kind of like that after launch. A big wave of emotion went past, and then it was in little places it would bubble up during the mission. You know, Fergie did a fantastic job of recognizing verbally all the folks around the country that have contributed, and every once in a while you'd catch one of his speeches on the TV, or I'd read an article that one of you had written that particularly pulled at a string, and you know, it just kind of occasionally happened. Almost every day there was an instance where something happened. You know, yesterday we got the word that the Empire State Building was going to light up in red, white, and blue overnight for us, and you know, that kind of just, you sat there and you went, you know, wow. So it's kind of just been going on constantly, and today, having the mission focus part of today pushed it back down again. I suspect by the time I get back home it'll probably come back up again, but for now it's still that mission focus, getting the crew home today, and that went really well. Looking forward to being able to go out to the OPF and hang out with all my friends down here that I've made at the Kennedy Space Center, and just kind of wish them well. You know, they're a big number of them are heading out the door tomorrow, and so, you know, it's just gonna, I think it's gonna keep going for a while, the emotions.
We'll do one more question on this side of the room, and then we'll come over here, and then we'll catch the next row here. Did anyone else want to respond to that? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Francisco Villalobos from Noticieros Televisa Mexico, and the question is for Mr. Cabanas, a two-part question. But first of all, thank you for your hospitality on behalf of all the Spanish-speaking Hispanic reporters that we were here. Your staff and your crew and everybody here in the center has treated us tremendously, and we appreciate for your hospitality, sir. Mexico and a lot of countries in Latin America are starting to have space agencies of their own. Mexico in the Yucatan Peninsula has a very privileged spot, similar to Cape Canaveral, where perhaps NASA could exploit the possible launching site. And as the future changes, as NASA is entering this new era of more international cooperation, perhaps commercial launching, I was wondering if Mexico is one of your perhaps target areas, and when perhaps, if it's so, when would you see launching site that you guys may use in the future? That's one part. And the second part of the question is that there's a gap that obviously is between launch vehicles, space vehicles, I'm sorry, that we have that we didn't have when the Apollo ended in '72, and at the same time the shuttle was approved. And do you believe, or do you think, sir, that the NASA could have been a little bit more assertive, perhaps, with Congress when it comes to negotiating the budget, or a little bit more assertive or aggressive with them to show the importance of funding the world's most important space agency, sir?
Well, let's see. First off, the Kennedy Space Center doesn't make international agreements, and any work that would be done with other partner nations or international operations comes out of headquarters. So I wouldn't be involved. From a point of view of gaps, if you look back, yes, we were going to build Shuttle. Originally, we flew we ended up flying in 1981. We were scheduled to fly in '78. There was a 3-year slip there. We flew the last Apollo-Soyuz test flight in '75. So, there was a 6-year gap between when we last flew and we flew on the shuttle. When you say we don't have a vehicle to go fly on, I know of 4 vehicles that are competing right now, trying to be designed to fly Americans in space. And some are further along than others, getting to critical design reviews. So I believe we do have a plan to get folks to low Earth orbit. We just got to make sure that we enable it and make it happen. From a heavy lift point of view, we've defined the Orion spacecraft as our multi-purpose crew vehicle, and we are building that, and it's very far along in its testing. So I think we have the vehicles more or less defined. What we now have to do is follow through on our plan and make it work to get them flying.
Here in the front row.
Hi, Eben Brown, Fox News Radio, for anyone who would like to take it. If someone came to you in April of '81 and said, you're going to fly these things for 30 years, and in the process you were going to go hang out at the Mir space station, you were going to launch an amazing space telescope, and then you were going to build this behemoth of a space station, would you tell them that they were crazy? Or did you think that, oh yeah, no, that's what we're going to do?
Well, I'll answer that part way. I think back then that folks had great visions for the space shuttle, and I think a space station was part of those visions. That was the main reason for having a space shuttle, was to go to a space station. It just took us a while. I mean, if you look back on, Space Station Freedom, where we were, I mean, they were looking at a space station in 1984. It just took us a while to get the final design and get where we needed to go. The Russian cooperation part, that might have been a little bit different in 1981. But again, it shows how things change and how valuable the space shuttle is. I mean, when you consider, look at the American United States Astronaut Corps pre-shuttle and look at it post-shuttle. Look at the diversity that we have. The shuttle did that. The international partners that we've flown, that happened because of the shuttle. So, it's pretty amazing. So I think folks had great vision for the shuttle. It's what it was designed to do, and I think it performed its mission extremely well when you look at that International Space Station on orbit.
And Evan, Bob said it exactly right, but there were those moments. Those are some of my most cherished ones back in mission control, where you'd sit there and you'd be handed a mission and a bunch of payloads, and you'd look at it and you go, we're going to do what? And we're going to put this 100-foot boom over the side of the orbiter with a radar antenna on the end of it, and then we have to do RCS burns in the middle of it, and it's going to wing around like a fishing rod. But just like a fishing rod, we'll time it just right so that we don't snap it in half. And you see, we're going to do what? And it went perfect, and we got one of the highest resolution radar maps of the Earth on that space radar mapping mission. But you know, that was the challenges, and that was the fun and excitement of this program. Is around the corner there was always something new and different and new challenge, and you'd incorporate some new activity, some new payload. The station, when we first started, it was going to be not as big or as intense. It was going to be a lot of self-assembly with robotics. We realized we weren't quite ready to do that. We threw the EVA team into the mix. You know, just everything we've learned every day that this program's been in existence has been amazing. I think the vision was there at the beginning, but I think those folks would look at what we did now and be really proud of just how mature that vision became.
And a lot of it, real quick. You know, it's not the hardware, and a lot of times things don't get used for what they were designed to do, but it's the ingenuity of the people and the team that are able to take, you know, something and make it happen maybe different from what was intended. Or when we ran into problems, look at all the problems we ran into with the space shuttle and how we solved them, you know, on orbit, rescuing satellites and so on. And it's a team. As great as the hardware is, it's the team that makes it what it is. And that's why I'm so confident about our future, because, you know, we still got this outstanding, amazing team that's going to make it happen.
And I would say the same kind of thing as we reflect today, right? We kind of want to have a perfect plan for the future, right? We're going to go do X, Y, Z, and all these things. That's not so important in my mind, because you're not necessarily going to achieve all those things in precisely the order or the timing. But if you take that step and you go with the right bigger vision and the right agility, and you challenge this team to go do things, you can accomplish amazing things that actually exceed what you've really intended to begin with. You know, in the research field, the big breakthroughs don't come from incremental steps. They come from somebody observing something that they didn't really intend to see, and then that human is smart enough to pull off of that data, and then that really advances the next steps. And so as you look back on the shuttle, did it achieve exactly what we planned? No. But look at all the other things that it's enabled. Now the next program, don't worry so much about being precise of what it's got to go do and try to justify every penny that goes into it. Get that ingenuity out there to challenge the workforce, to challenge human ingenuity, to really push, and you don't know where this country and this people pulling together can actually accomplish and what they can go do.
Craig.
Thanks. It's Craig Cavalt with Aerospace America for Bill. Bill, on your comment there about technical recommendations for the heavy lift, can you characterize where LOX RP1 engine development falls in the overall picture, possibly as a follow-on to an SSME power plant for the heavy lift?
Yeah, again, it's, you know, until the plan is really approved, it's probably premature for me to talk about the specifics and details. But we've got an approach that tries to leverage off of what we've got today, but then it also allows for new technology to get entered in at the right time and move forward. So we've got to, so we're not ruling out LOX RP for some aspect of this thing. We think there's some potential there. We think solids also can have a potential, but the idea is then how do you let competition or let ingenuity drive some of those pieces. So we've kind of laid out a framework to go do that from a decision process. I can't say too much more until it gets a little bit more approval, but that's the basic kind of concept that we've laid out, to try to not totally discount what we've got in the past, but to use it where it makes sense, but then also give us a growth path to interject some new technology if it's really there and it's really mature and ready to go forward.
Robert.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com with, I guess, a question for anyone who wants to take it. I realize the shuttle program, or at least the shuttle flights, are only hours over, but trying to put the program into a perspective of the human spaceflight legacy, I wonder if you feel that the shuttle will be appreciated for what it has done, what it did do, or whether, like Gemini has in between Mercury and Apollo, it'll become the unsung workhorse of getting us to that next step, which now is exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
I'll go first. I don't see how the shuttle cannot help but be recognized for the outstanding vehicle that it is. It allowed us to learn how to actually live and work in space. Look at the EVAs that we did out of the shuttle. I mean, we've done so many things with the shuttle that just could not have been done otherwise. I think it's what has enabled us to say, all right, you know, we got to focus on going beyond Earth now. We've learned how to work in low Earth orbit. We've got a lot more to learn about deep space and about long-duration space flight. We got a space station there as a result of the shuttle. I think that's got to be one of the shuttle's crowning achievements, that world-class laboratory that we have up there. Now we got to utilize it. And I think the space shuttle will be recognized for that.
You know, and Robert, I've addressed this a little bit in the past too. That I was asked once, was the shuttle worth the cost? And my response was it was absolutely worth the cost, but not from a monetary perspective, but from an evolutionary perspective of the space program and what I believe we need to do as humans is go colonize elsewhere eventually. And so, as Bob said, we've learned to work and live in low Earth orbit. It was a natural step in that process, and the shuttle was the right vehicle for that, and it performed extremely well. And so it's an evolutionary step. We're about to take the next steps, but I believe we need to have a vision as a being that eventually we need to go colonize elsewhere, and that ought to be our vision, and then enable that somehow over the next many decades, obviously, centuries. But the shuttle will always be looked back upon as the next logical step after Apollo, and then we need to go to the next step after shuttle.
Mark Ratterman with Talking Space. A question for Mike Leinbach. We've been talking about change, and I've got kind of a think back to look forward question. What advice 20 years ago would have been nice to have to help you prepare for the changes of today?
Gosh, well, change, as managers, we've all been through a lot of management courses, and one thing that comes across is the process of change, and there are 4 phases of change, right? And it doesn't matter what the change is. Any major change in one's life, you go through these 4 changes, these 4 stages, and it's denial, anger, exploration, and acceptance. And so we've all been through that now in the shuttle program, and we've accepted the fact that it's over. I think if we look back, you know, a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years, we knew the end was coming. I believe the workforce has handled that change well, because we were given that time to accept that change. The finality of it is, there's no doubt, it's over now, and that affects a lot of people. But given the fact that we had 3 or 4 years to prepare for this really very focused way, I think helped the people deal with that. And I heard nothing but pride out on the runway today. When I talked to the people in between the hugs and the pats on the back, the pride that they have of having been part of this amazing program, this amazing bit of history. No one can ever take that away from us. And so I think over the last 3 or 4 years we've been concentrating on completing the job that we were given to do. We've done that now successfully. We have a lot of pride in that, and no one can take that away from us.
James?
James Dean with Florida Today. Mike Leinbach, you kind of just touched on this, but I was going to ask one of Fergie's comments during an interview with respect to the sort of despondent mood among the workforce was that we needed to go through kind of a moment like being at a wake to get through that grief and get through the acceptance and all that. I wondered if you felt like that might be what's going on today as we're seeing the tow back and the celebration that'll happen, and you know, if you'll have more of a sense after today of being able to move on.
Well, certainly there's that. Again, those processes, those phases of change are coming into play today. But this is a machine that we have to retire. It's a program that's over. It's not as traumatic as people think it is. I've been through a lot more traumatic things in my life, and these guys have been through a lot more traumatic things in their lives, and you have too. This is the end of the program. People will move on and do well. It's the loss of something that means important, that is important to us, but it's certainly nothing like the loss of a family member. It's important, but it's not the end of the world. The sun will rise again tomorrow.
Back over here.
Donna Leinwand from USA Today. This is for anyone who wants to answer it. Looking at a non-shuttle program right now, what that's going on in NASA makes you excited? What do you think that the general public should be interested in when they look at NASA programs? Well, until you start going to Mars.
I'll jump in real quick, and somebody else can add more. We got 3 awesome science missions coming up here. Juno, August 5th, Grail to the moon. And I was over in the PHSF yesterday looking at the Mars Science Lab, you know, the rover going through its final testing before it all gets packed up to send something the size of a car to the surface of Mars to explore for at least 2 years. That's exciting, having a rover that big with the capability that it has, not to mention the unique way that it's getting delivered to Mars. I mean, this is great stuff. People ought to be excited about it. It's neat. It's a precursor to sending humans there, having these robots go explore and learn to prepare us for the future.
And, you know, I would just say we got to see it today. 9 minutes before landing, this little white dot went over the horizon. And that's a 900,000-pound research facility in space with 6 people, international folks, living every day in space doing research. Now, that's not easy because that little white dot, it's hard to see the solar rays, it's hard to see, it's as big as a football field, it's hard to understand the research. So we're going to have to collectively all figure out a way we talk about it differently. You know, it's easy to come and see a launch, you can feel the launch, you can see the launch, you can internalize it yourself, but that research activity of what we're doing, those are really the first steps we are getting to go beyond low Earth orbit, or to actually go colonize beyond the Earth, as Mike described. So that is the next phase. So how do we as a people talk about that in a way that relates to everyday folks, that they can understand what the potential is of that research facility? And that's our collective challenge, is how we make that connection. How do you make that little white dot real, that's as exciting as a launch that you see, or as a landing that you saw 9 minutes later?
Jay.
Jay Barbary with NBC. Bill, if I wrote tonight that your heavy lift coming up, now I realize you cannot answer this, and I respect that, but if I wrote tonight that your heavy lift coming up would use the current shuttle boosters, current tank, SSME engines, and the J2 to go into space, and it would be built in a fashion that could be updated throughout the coming years with better propulsion systems or newer, better technology, rather than fixed into that position. Would you have much argument with that?
Boy, it's just the answer is yes, because it's got pieces of those, but it doesn't have it the way you described it. So we got to be careful, right? So let us get through the process. Let us have some folks review it and see where they are. But that's a little too clean, a little too crisp, and it's a little more complex than what you described. So the simple answer is no.
Okay. Well, I got a lot more than I had.
All right.
Okay, in the green shirt back here.
Hi, Curtis Kruger with St. Petersburg Times. You all mentioned a lot of pride and national pride in the workforce, from the workforce, in this space shuttle that's got the American flag and the NASA meatball on it. How will your view change, and how should the nation make of it when the next astronauts who fly are on commercial space vehicles here at Kennedy?
Well, I'm assuming those commercial vehicles are built here in the United States. They're still going to have an American flag, and they'll be supporting NASA missions. I think they ought to take great pride that we're expanding the envelope and trying to open up space to everyone. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's not going to happen overnight, but they're American rockets and American spacecraft taking American crews to space, so they ought to have a lot of pride in that.
We'll wrap it up with a question from Robert Perlman.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com with a question for Mike Leinbach. I asked some of the other shuttle team members this question back in Houston. There is one more shuttle still flying, albeit it's quite small, the shuttle model that was left on the International Space Station that you and others signed. Can you share what it means, what the crew call the monument means to you, and your role of having the signature on it?
Well, see, I was completely honored to be asked to sign that, and I remember when I signed it, I told John Shannon I'm signing on behalf of the launch team and the processing teams here at the Kennedy Space Center. So a little bit of everyone is on that signature up there, and that means a lot. You know, it's a tangible thing that we can go retrieve one day and look back on the shuttle program. There's a little bit of everybody on the space station right now. It feels good.
All right, well, we are going to close things. Atlantis is being towed back to the orbiter processing facility as we speak, and in about an hour there will be an employee appreciation event, the beginning of which you'll get to watch live on NASA television with Mr. Cabana and NASA Administrator Charles Bolden. That'll be the next Kennedy activity on NASA television. So once again, thank you very much for coming, and have a great day.